The Dragon that Brought Water. Once upon a time there was a large rock in the gentle meadows of a small valley in the hills. It looked like a sleeping dragon. The children loved to frolic and chatter around this rock the whole day. It was their favorite spot. The children knew it was a dragon. Even the grown-ups, the dogs, cats, and birds knew it was a dragon, but nobody was scared of it, as it never moved from its place. They would poke sticks at it and hang their wet boots on its ears, but it did not mind. The women would chop twigs for firewood on its lazily drooping tail, because it was just at the right height. Often on a cool night, under the stars, the folks would share the stories about how the dragon got there. Though nobody knew for sure, one thing that everybody agreed on was a small song which they had inherited from their forefathers. It went like this. When the trouble will be high, the dragon will fly. It will spread its wing and dig through its back a tiny spring. The days went by quietly. There had been no rain in the valley for as long as the children could remember. The wells started to dry. The lawns had faded to a crisp biscuit color, and the flowers dropped their proud heads. The valley turned browner, drier, and thirstier with each passing day. Everybody grew worried. They would look upwards, searching for rain clouds in the blue, clear sky, but none ever came. "The tale of the dragon cannot be true," said old Mrs. Sopara. "It hasn't moved an inch, I swear," replied her neighbor. It was now too hot for the children to play out in the sun, and they would gather under shadow of the rocks. "The dragon will help us soon," said one child. "We are sure he will," nodded all in agreement. A week went by with no change. Meanwhile the children moved around the valley, picking and plucking at the fading flowers. They placed bunches around the dragon in a big circle and danced around it, skipping and chanting the rhyme that they all knew so well. When the trouble will be high, the dragon will fly. It will spread its wing and dig through its back a tiny spring. They looked up at the rock. Nothing happened. Just a strong, dry wind picked up some flowers and scattered them here and there. Suddenly the dragon twitched its stony gray nostrils. "I saw something!" cried the small boy. They all stared. An ear stretched and flapped, and the ground began to rumble. "Look! Run!" The children ran in all directions, shouting and screaming. The rumbling grew and grew as the dragon raised its sleepy head. It stood up and stretched. It blinked and looked around with its long lashed eyes. The older folks were alarmed by the screams, and soon the whole town stood at the foot of the hill, staring up at the large beast, their mouths wide open. The noise came from the dragon. "Achoo!" It sneezed. "Achoo!" This time its sneeze blasted, and it fell on the ground on its back. The thump split open the dry earth. Storms of dry soil rose from the ground. It uprooted the trees, and they too rose high, steering their way through the sky. But there was some other sound, too, which people could not recognize. For long their ears had not heard such tinkling melody. Their eyes widened in wonder, and their smiles turned into grins. Lo and behold! Cold, clear spring water oozed and roared out of the hole along the valley floor. The water gushed and rushed along the thirsty and parched floor of the earth. It knocked went over a farmer's haystack, but he did not care. It carried away the lazy shopkeeper's bike and shed, but she did not care either. When the flood sent pools of water out towards the golf course, filling its holes, the oldest folks of the valley whistled and threw their caps up in the air. The water ran over the dragon too. The dragon sleepily got up, stepped forward, bent to take a dip into the muddy water, and disappeared. People never saw it again. After the families had reconstructed their houses, they set up boating clubs and scuba diving for the children and grandparents. They erected a huge statue of the dragon on a cliff at the spot where it used to stand like a rock. Every year, to mark the occasion, they would bring flowers and arrange them in a big circle around it. The day was known as Savior Dragon's Day, and the children would have the day off at school. Wearing the dragon masks, they would skip around the cliff, clapping and singing the new version of the old song, "The dragon saved us, we knew he would too. Cheers to the dragon and his achoo, achoo."